Hello and welcome to the inaugural edition of Nimitz Report Live. I'm Justin Brown, founder and CEO of the Nimitz Group. Before launching the Nimitz Group, I served in the United States Navy, worked on Capitol Hill, and have spent years helping veterans organizations, businesses, and policymakers navigate some of the most important issues facing our country. The purpose of Nimitz Report Live is simple: to cut through the noise and bring you directly to the people shaping policy and making decisions in Washington. Our goal is to help veterans, military families, advocates, and stakeholders understand not just what's happening, but why it matters and what comes next. We won't be producing episodes simply to fill airtime. Nimitz Report Live will air when Congress is in session and when we believe there's important information, meaningful legislation, or significant developments that our community needs to understand. Today is exactly one of those moments. Joining us today is Chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, Chairman and Marine veteran, Mike Bost. Mr. Chairman, welcome to Nimitz Report Live. It's an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me on, as always. Thank you.
Sir, yesterday, the House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committee unveiled the Take Care of America's Veterans Act, a bipartisan package combining more than 60 veterans bills into a single legislative effort. I believe this could be the most significant veterans package since the PACT Act, totaling more than $22 billion. Mr. Chairman, what do veterans and military families need to know about this?
Well, first off, let me tell you that it has been a bipartisan, bicameral effort, and we have leadership involved so that we know that it will actually pass. It won't be just something that we message out there. And that's what so many times, you know, that we will move a bill in the House. It doesn't have a chance in the Senate, but let me tell you what's all in it. And it's these are bills that other people have heard about for several years on several cases. Matter of fact, the Richard Starr Act is included in this. The Sharon Briley and Eric Edmondson's bill that I have worked on that is so vitally important to our surviving spouses, as well as those most critically injured veterans that have to have 24-hour care. A lot of people will be happy about this. The Love Lives On Act is also, out there also is the Veterans Stand Act. The Fox grant, a reauthorization, which has been vitally important and been very, very successful. Everyone understands that. There's several bills that are clumped together and providing benefit extensions for the GI Bill. There's also some appeals modification. We are expanding the TAP program and some long-time things that are necessary there, and some contract needed changes for procurement and all of these type things. And we put it all together in one bill. And what we did with that was we were able to adjust it to also have the offsets that we need to make sure it can move on down the road and get the votes necessary to actually benefit our veterans here at this 250th birthday of this nation, providing for those people who have made sure that we have the freedoms that we have.
That's incredible, sir. And to peel the onion a little bit here, I mean, those bills that you mentioned, I mean, these are pieces of legislation that advocates have been coming to you probably since you've been
even when I was ranking member, even before I was ranking member. The Richard Starr Act is out there. It's been out there. We've got several, so many members that are in support of the idea, but how do we make it work? We believe in this bill, we're able to make it work by combining it with these other things to make sure that we can move forward, that VA has the money necessary, and that that Department of War also has it. Because remember, the rich, and a lot of people don't understand this, you do, and the people that work here on the Hill that talk about this stuff all the time. The Richard Starr Act was actually not in the VA's jurisdiction. So many people were confused about that. It is in the Department of War because VA fully funds what we are required to fund. The reduction occurred in the veterans pension through the Department of War or the Department of Defense, whichever you want to call it. And that's why it would have, if it was just that by itself, it wouldn't have been our jurisdiction.
Sir, some of the other provisions in here, for instance, the Sherry Briley Act.
Yes.
We're talking about a community, to my understanding, that hasn't seen a change in their DIC benefits for like 3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are so many other provisions in here, I believe, as well, for caregivers, survivors. You mentioned the Love Lives On Act that would end the remarriage penalty. A lot of people, I think, are blown away when they learn that a young widowed spouse to somebody who lost their life in service to our nation, if they remarry, they lose their benefits.
If they remarry before 55 under the existing rules, they lose their benefits. Let me tell you that was the case with a lot of other pensions that were out there. But those, when I say other pensions, private pensions, and I know whenever I was a firefighter in the state of Illinois, I can remember when they made that modification that said, no, you're not going to be penalized and not get your spouse's pension who died in the line of duty if you get remarried. And so we stopped that there. This should have been stopped a long time ago. This bill actually does that. And also let's expand on what you said about the Sherry Briley and the Eric Edmondson. Let me explain. It was decades since we have increased the benefits. And if there's one place where the VA needs to, it will go back all the way to Abraham Lincoln right after he gave his second inaugural, where they said they take care of the widows and orphans. This is the money that actually takes care of those widows. And then later on, after he made that speech, he then actually created what is known now as the VA that provides for who is it most that needs the help. When somebody is needing 24-hour care from their family members, whether it's a spouse or parents, or some caregiver, that they are wheelchair bound, that they can't communicate. Look, these are the people who we want to help all our veterans, but these are the ones that really need that expansion, and that's why I'm glad it's in there.
Well, thank you for that, sir. Devil's advocate. I mean, what does the bill cost? How are we going to get this across the finish line?
20 billion, but the thing is, we have offsets that we're looking at, and we've done. One of the things we did, so you know this, is we've expanded the home loan program to allow Guard and Reserve members, where they used to have at least 90 days to qualify. They only need 10 days of active duty to qualify. And then they have a fee that goes on it per month, but it's still a great deal. If you are a person that is applying for your second mortgage as a veteran, not your first, then there's a fee that's added onto that. Only if you are below 40% of disability. If you're above 40%, that doesn't go on. So there's these adjustments. There's also adjustments in the actual way we handle certain benefits, as far as it is the tendonitis and one other. I'm trying to remember the other.
Sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. Both of those from here on out. Not anybody that's receiving it now, but from here on out, they're going to analyze it different, which gets us. CBO actually gives us a credit for that.
Okay. And my understanding is you're getting that funding from a regulation that you guys expect VA is going to expire anyway.
Right.
And if VA goes through with expiring that regulation that was created during the Biden era, then all that money goes back to the Treasury.
And for your listeners, because once again, I'm going to say this again, you and I understand this because we deal with it every day. But
yes,
what it does is it allows the bean counters to give us credit for something that was going to happen anyway.
Right.
That's a real advantage, and it allows us to move forward with that and still pass PAYGO with it.
So final question for you, sir. We anticipate this video is going to go to a lot of veterans out across the country. What would you say directly to veterans and their family members about this bill?
Yeah, let me tell you that, first off, thank you for your service, and we want to make sure those commitments we made to you are fulfilled. And remember this: there are two issues as we're approaching this 250th anniversary. there were two people, and they were actually both from Illinois, that kind of gave the guidelines of what we should do with our veterans. One is a gentleman that actually formed the first veteran service organization. He was a Civil War general. He actually, his farm was subdivided to make my hometown. His name was John A. Logan. He was actually one of the first commandants of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was the first veteran service organization. And in his 11th general order, he created Memorial Day so we don't forget our veterans. At about the same time, a few years before that, I mentioned earlier, Abraham Lincoln, in his second inaugural address, said that we will take care of those who have served us, their widows and their orphans, and immediately went out and created those medical opportunities in hospitals that would take care of our veterans. We did this because of their ideas, and they're the right ideas to have. We're going to continue to do that.
Well, Chairman Bost, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your leadership on behalf of America's veterans, military families, caregivers, and survivors. And we appreciate you taking the time to walk us through this.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, sir. And with that, before we wrap up, I'd like to bring in two members of the Nimitz Group team who spend every day tracking developments on Capitol Hill and working with veterans organizations, congressional offices, federal agencies, and policymakers across the country. Joining me are Ms. Clare Marsh, who leads veteran policy for us, and Drew Benbow, who oversees our DoD transition and veteran small business portfolios. Clare and Drew, you've both spent significant time reviewing this package and following many of the provisions included in this legislation. Clare, what stood out to you?
Well, I think number one, thanks for having us on here this morning. Excited to talk about this. I think one of the main things that the chairman highlighted really well, but is a huge win for the survivor community, both the Sherry Briley and Eric Edmondson bill and the Love Lives On Act. This is really important for folks who feel like they've been forgotten for a long time. There hasn't been a meaningful increase in DIC, dependency indemnity compensation, in more than 30 years. And while the increase in this bill is only 3%, and that may seem small, it's a huge deal, and it's a really meaningful step forward towards parity for surviving spouses. That in addition to the Love Lives On Act, which, as a fun fact for all of you watching, Justin actually wrote this bill many years ago. So very exciting to
too many years ago. Should have been passed long ago.
Very exciting to see that finally move forward and to get rid of the remarriage penalty. I also want to highlight the Beacon Act is included in this major package, and that's another really exciting step forward. This bill will provide some really exciting grant programs for innovative TBI treatment and research, which is going to be critical in keeping the momentum moving forward in a positive direction to combat the veteran mental health crisis. So those are really the big highlights that I want to talk about. Excited to hear what Drew has to say as well.
Yeah, thank you for your analysis, Clare. Drew.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, thank you, Justin. 60 plus bills. This is a pretty robust bit of legislation. And the thing that sticks out to me most is, of course, the Richard Starr Act, which would allow combat injured military veterans to receive both their earned military retirement pay and their VA disability compensation. And this ensures that they're not forced to choose between the benefits they earn through service and sacrifice. Number two is that it corrects a longstanding inequality. Right now, veterans with combat-related disabilities often lose a portion of their retirement pay due to current offset rules. So this provision addresses that inequality and provides fairer treatment for wounded warriors. And this, for me, I see it. The bottom line is that men and women who sustain combat-related injuries should not face financial penalties because of those injuries. So I'm excited to see those changes potentially being made. And the next, everybody's talking about AI. The Vet Tech program is being expanded or would be expanded under this bill to provide training to include emerging fields like artificial intelligence and semiconductor manufacturing, which is going to give veterans access to some of the fastest growing careers in the economy. It's going to strengthen economic and national security in this country. Investing in veterans training for AI and semiconductor manufacturing strengthens both our economy and national security by building skilled domestic workforce in industries that are essential to America's future competitiveness. So these are just two of the many that I'm very, very excited about.
Well, thank you, Claire, and thank you, Drew. Good policy only matters if people understand it, and our goal is to help bridge that gap. And thank you all for joining us in this inaugural edition of Nimitz Report Live. Our mission is simple: to help veterans, military families, advocates, policymakers, and stakeholders better understand what's happening in Washington and how those decisions impact the people who served our nation. When important legislation is moving, when critical decisions are being made, and when our community deserves direct access to the people shaping those outcomes, we'll be here to bring you those conversations. If you found today's discussion valuable, please subscribe to the Nimitz Report, share this episode with a fellow veteran, military family member, caregiver, survivor, or advocate, and help us continue building a more informed and connected veterans community. For Clare, Marsh, Drew Benbow, Chairman Mike Bost, and the entire Nimitz Group team, I'm Justin Brown. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Nimitz Report Live.